Okay, so here today we talk about feature start via implementation, difficulties, and I think most of you are here for the return of investment. So first of all, we'll talk about what kind of AI and ML problems VIA faces while the development of new models. So we have a big problem when we talk about the time spent during the development of queries for the creation of an analytical base table, while the data scientist is starting building some queries. And in this process, takes almost then 30% of data science time. This became a big problem because when you are talking about a model that takes more than 3 months to be developed, we are saying that at least 1 month is only the development of this analytical base table. Another point is the long time we spent in query development is directly related to query complexity. When we talked with data scientists to see their queries, we saw queries with more than 8,000 lines, which increases substantially the difficulty to maintain or fix some bug in these queries. We have to duplicate the pipelines. So when we talk about features, in a scenario that you don't have a big control of what features are created, certainly we will get duplicated pipelines. And this is one of the biggest problems at VIA. We faced many duplicated pipelines with just different names, but with the same business rules behind it. And the situations creates a chaotic scenario if you mind that different projects use different pipelines with the same rules. And in a moment that you need to adjust one of these pipelines for any reason, the other pipeline that gives the same result will not bring this result anymore. And if you have some report or some model that consumes this data, we have same KPIs or same variables that brings different values. So we have a problem in data usage. Another difficulty is related to data quality. Oftentimes when data scientists start to use some data from our data lake, they face wrong data, they face missing values, they face new values, duplicated values, tons of problems with the data, which causes a big problem to data science. As it forces them to create an ETL to clean this data set before they start the real work of creating their analytical base.
Renan, can you please mute your mic? Sorry.
I think someone is talking together.
I think we're good. Renan just joined. You're fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I forgot.
So let me come back a little bit here. When data science face these problems, they are forced to create an ETL to clean this database, this data set before they start the real work of creating their queries or their analytical base tables. And in line with duplicated pipelines, duplicated values, the data quality problem, we enter in governance topic. As we don't have the control of our pipelines, nor the features that are created in each model, we don't have the governance of what we're building. And here we are not talking about just in the version in a GitHub, the version of code, for example, but the governance of where the data is used, which transformation are built with this data, and where this result is used. And the last point is about features reusability. As we said before, if you don't know what are all the features created, you have duplicated pipelines and don't have data governance over your environment, you can't have feature reusability. The scenario you get worse and worse each time a new model is created. So how feature store? Here we talk how feature store can help to solve these problems. The first thing is feature store gives the agility to reuse features. So when your feature are in a feature store, you can consume these features from any of your models, even if they are pertaining to different business areas. For example, if using variables from logistics in a financial model, this is really easy to do when you are working with feature store, And it enables not only discourse features use, but also expanding the number of insights our data science can build with this huge pool of new features in the feature store environment. The second thing, it's the simplification of the creation of queries. So when we start to create queries for our feature store, this is a big change in culture. And this change must be done for things going the right path. I'll talk more about this change culture in the next slides, but one part of how feature store simplifies the creation of queries is that every data science has a machine learning engineer working together in the construction of their analytical base table. So these ML engineers are showing the right path, are showing their necessary partners for the feature store to work perfectly. So they are teaching data science how they must construct their queries to enter inside feature store. As we include the new queries in the feature store environment, the necessity of creating new features goes down each time we have a new interaction. In a moment of the creation of new features, the chances that data science needs a feature that already exists in a feature store increases each time a new model enters in the production environment. So it creates a well that each interaction create more features, and in the next interaction, you don't the probability to create a new feature goes down each time it interacts. The next one, it's how it's the part of what force a previous data quality to enter in the feature store. So there are some previous adjustments that you need to do before using feature store. And one of them, as I said before, is data quality. Feature store forces some data quality rules on your query results to enter in production environment. So before thinking feature store, you must see if your data is ready for it. Free of missing values, duplicate the keys, no values, and any other form of wrong data. Doing that, you certainly will get ready for feature store. One of the biggest points I think it's in feature store is show where, how, and what. And what is these 3 points? And this main capabilities is it's about the lineage of your data. So you can see these 3 important points. The first one is where your data comes from, showing all the sources, tables, databases, whatever you're using as a source, you can see inside feature store. The second one is how it's transformed, which pipelines, which URLs, which process transform your data, enabling not only the reuse of pipelines, but controlling everything on the same place, on the feature store. And the last one is what is the result? You see the result of your features, so you can test these features, you can see how it works and where they are used. So you can see which notebooks are attached to your features, and if necessary, you can manage these notebooks or simply disattach these notebooks if you're using these features. This simplifies dramatically how you can fix or adjust a feature and evaluate how profoundly this adjustment will impact your models. So with this vision of all your features, all your pipelines, you know what's the impact in your entire process. And the last one is enabling to reuse all features from other projects in your new model. As I said before, when you start using feature store, all your features from any of your projects of any business area, so you have a financial service, logistics, supply, marketing, whatever, are enabled to be across features, to be used in any kind of projects and business areas. This creates a huge number of new possibilities for your models. And then now let's talk about the steps of building and introducing feature store in the ML pipelines. So here we are talking about the culture change. I think for me, it's the most important part in the adoption of feature star at VIA. So data scientists normally create their analytical base tables alone, with only the business rules in their minds, without considering any other necessity from the feature star context. So in the moment of the implementation of feature star, we must do a big mindset change here, considering now that the next step to evolve towards the feature star platform is our data scientists working together with a machine learning engineer in the first steps of the new model. In this process, we have a first agreed with all data science coordinators that every new model must have a machine learning engineer from our discovery pillar that's responsible for feature star implementation. With these alignments, our data scientists start calling for help when a new model is developed. And this happens not only because their coordinators said, but because they understand the real impact that feature star can bring to the whole scenario of a VIA. It created the possibilities not only for the area of data science, but for all the data science created, just because this client area can consume the same features of our data science do on an exclusive environment, but with the same data without any data replication, just sharing from a central feature star workspace. So we starting to implementing this feature star culture not only in our data scientist or business analysts area. We give the possibility to implement this environment, this feature star for client areas, so they can start to use it in their analysis or their work daily. The feature star features to bring new insights, to give new possibilities for their area. And the second part is MLOps engineer helping in the definition of standards. So as I said before, machine learning engineers will help the data science to adjust their queries in the standards that are necessary to enter in feature star. And at this step, machine learning engineers will help data science to define a strong key on his queries. So they help to use the best practices during the development of queries and looking for a better performance too. So they don't are limited to bring the right standards in the query for entering feature star. They works in all the items of the query, including a better performance and all the necessary points for a software deploy in feature star. And when the data science finish their ABTs, the analytical base tables, they are in the right path to enter in feature star with the guidance that machine learning engineers can provide to data scientists. After all the work in the creation of queries for analytical base table, these queries are ready to enter in feature star environment without any problems of timing in the moment of deploy. So now let's talk about how feature star can reorganize teams to productionize machine learning models. So the first one, feature star enable an entire vision of project. So when you have a feature star in our environment, it enables to have an end-to-end project vision. You will see all your data sources, all your pipelines that compose your features, all the transformations that you did with your data to build your features. And after the use of a model, you can have a tracking of which are the notebooks that are using these features. This really helps in the governance topic and show how useful feature star could be. Second one is the use of cross features. When we start using feature star, it enables the use of cross features in projects, enabling the use of features from a logistic model in a financial model. This helps to maintain a unique repository of features, and in the moment of productionized models, they are all in the same place. Avoiding duplicated pipelines. So using feature store, you won't have duplicated pipelines. Obviously, you must have some process to guarantee that your data science will see all available features before start creating a new one. But this process is 100 times less costly than creating new features from nothing. Another point is simplify the deploy process. So when you have everyone working in the same environment with all features inside the same place, that's the feature store, changing a model from your development area, development environment to a production environment, it's easier because you don't have to be careful in things like which base my model are using, or what the credentials, which storage should I connect, or some things like this. And the last one, it's avoiding duplicate pipelines. So using feature store, you won't have duplicate pipelines. And obviously, as I said before in the topic of avoiding duplicated features, here you must have some process to guarantee too. So your data science must see all the available pipelines related with the business that he's working before starting to create a new one. But this process is 100 times less costly than creating a new pipelines from nothing too. Although feature store, as I said before, enable the entire vision of projects, facilitating to see all the pipelines and what kind of feature we have on each pipeline. So here we have a big gain in the fight with the duplicated pipelines. And the last, and I think the most weighted, is the return of investment. So now let's talk about the most important part after feature store implementation, the return of investment. So when we talk about the return of investment, it isn't a simple calculation, because the first thing you must know is how much time your teams spend on the creation of their queries or ABTs on the pair modeling phase. With this number, you can start this estimation. So here at VIA, this number is an average between data science. It's something like 30% of their productivity. And now with this number, when we implement feature store, the reusability of features will be more frequent. And in the future, the creation of new features will be lower. So in this scenario here at VIA, considering that we have 35 data scientists with an increment of productivity enabled by feature store of 30%, as I pointed before, we have in a year 1.2 million reais, that it's like, I don't know in dollars, but it's like $200,000, something like this, of return over a year. And seeking for new possibilities, we saw that business analysts have a great fit with the use of feature store. And at this point, we decided to start using feature store in business analytics area projects. And in this area, we have around 40 business analysts, considering the same productivity increment of 30%, as we saw with data science. In a year, we have 1.6 million reais of increment. So adding these two results, we have an amount of 2.8 million reais. And in terms of dollars, we have $600,000 per year. So based on this value, I think the question that appears is, okay, you increase your productivity by 30% and it represents around $600,000. But how much feature star, how much does feature star costs in the implementation. So here at VIA, we work with Azure Databricks. So all of our development environment is based on Azure Databricks. And just to clarify, Azure Databricks, it's a resource from Azure, from Microsoft, that enables Workspace to work with many languages of data processing, such as Python, Spark, Scala. So in Azure Databricks, you don't have any type of license. Feature Star is a feature available in a premium tier workspace. You just pay for clusters that you use to process your features inside Feature Store. So in our production environment today, we have a cost of something like $24,000 a year. And in a simple way of thinking, based on VIA scenario, the implementation of Feature Store is about 20 times cheaper than the environment without the Feature Store. And another important point related to that is related to the return of investment is one thing of build or buy. Build your own feature store or buy a pre-built feature store. So at VIA, we decided to buy because after through study with 4 great feature store players, we saw that to build our own feature store, our data science and machine learning operations area must be very mature. That will take many months to be developed. Something doesn't happen if you buy a black box of feature store, a pre-built feature store. Obviously, you must know the basic concepts of feature store, and that's why we spend almost a month just studying feature store players. But when you know how feature store works, a pre-built solution gives you the possibility to have a production environment in less than a month, doing all the steps of configuration, testing. And so if you buy a feature store, it will give the agility to start using and having all the benefits of a feature store in a short time. So I think it's this. If you have any questions, feel free.